Shalom, family, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's weekly news update. It's always a pleasure for us to sit with all of you and get together on our proverbial back porch as we talk about the things going on the earth. And I'm always thankful for all of you who not only sit with us, but who like and share these with our brothers and sisters out there. Our intention, of course, is always to uh, make sure we encourage our brothers and sisters and make sure that people are not getting overwhelmed in fear. One of the things we like to say around here is that we want to be informed without being overwhelmed. And that's a really important thing. Scripture tells us 365 times to not be afraid. And part of the reason why we were warned about these things in advance was so that we wouldn't be afraid, so that when we saw these things, we would know the day is approaching. And of course, we look at the news from a scriptural perspective, the 10,000-foot view, as we like to call it, and look at things as they are manifesting in accordance to his word. Now, for those that may be new to your Bibles, maybe you're just now coming back and you don't quite remember where that was, in Matthew chapter 24, and also Mark chapter 13, but Matthew 24 specifically, he was asked point blank, what will be the sign of thy coming and the end of this age? Right. And then he described exactly what you're seeing today. Now, again, we don't know the degrees, and we certainly couldn't see all of the hills and valleys from that far a distance. As the scripture says, even the prophetic voice sees through a glass darkly. So even though he informs us, we don't always know the details of how things are going to play out. That's what makes this fascinating. So we get to watch and see these things unfold. And again, for those that may be joining us, perhaps for the first time, we do have a website called remnantwatch.com. Thank you for those of you that are bookmarking and sharing that site. By the traffic numbers, it looks like it is going up. And this is where you're going to find all of the stories that we cover in our reports, and we make it very easy for you to get to. You'll notice a banner here at the top. This will always take you to the latest broadcast so that you don't miss a single weekly news update. And we do these so that you don't have to get dings on your phone every hour, and you got to focus on the things you're doing right now. And so once you know what time it is, well, you're going to get an assignment, you're going to have direction, you're going to have things that you need to focus on, and a lot of these things can be distractions, right? Sometimes intentionally so, right? So we want to make sure we don't give them too much attention when they don't warrant it. And on that note, let's get into the news. And tonight's top story, of course, we can't seem to get away from this issue, which again, Messiah warned us about. And here we go, folks. The world is teetering on the edge of World War III, and things are definitely heating up in certain parts of the world, certainly Eastern Europe, as this catastrophe of a conflict seems to be winding down. But of course, these aren't easy things to wind down. This is why you don't want to wind them up, because nobody likes to admit they've lost. Bring the thunder, 5 words to strike fear into Putin. Zelensky gives chilling video address ahead of U.S. missile strikes deep into Russia. So he's finally gotten his permission. The introduction of the North Korean troops turned out to be the trigger that justified this escalation. Vladimir Zelensky has issued a stark warning to his foe, Vladimir Putin, as he told the tyrant, notice they're playing right along, missiles will speak for themselves. And, trying to act very, very tough and very strong and what have you. And Russia has been very matter of fact about their response. Putin's response that I listened to today was very matter of fact. He was letting all the Western powers know that there is no way Ukraine could possibly target, utilize, shoot get the intelligence for any of those things without assistance from the West, which means, based on their new updated doctrine, that we've just taken a big step closer to apocalyptic global war. And again, this is what we were warned about. So do not be troubled, because, we were told that these things will occur. But there's a lot of peace and safety that people are wanting to celebrate, right? Everybody wants to celebrate, and elections are not repentance. Once again, elections are not repentance. They may be political repentance. I mean, if you're repenting for, your politics, maybe that's what that counts for, but it certainly doesn't count in the kingdom, folks. And so those that are, gleeful, and what did I tell you you would see? Euphoria. Those that are euphoric, and they're excited, well, that's wonderful. Take advantage of that. That is your exit. That is your exit. If you're wise, you're going to use that exit wisely, okay? Because they're continuing to tell you. Now, we watched various things ramp up. We all saw the conflict with Gaza as it ramped up. We all saw the conflict with Putin in eastern Ukraine, the Ukraine conflict. We saw that coming with the war of words, okay? And we've been seeing other conflicts ramping up with wars of words, right? And so now that the election is over, we have some sore losers. So we should not be surprised to see that there is, again, growing fear of World War III right there in the headline, as Sweden tells residents to prepare for unrest. And they see and of course, there's a dire warning that they put out to everybody, and they put it out in a pamphlet, which has been issued now 5 times. And of course, this is, warning them, hey, prepare for conflict, prepare for the fallout. All right. And it comes, of course, as Russian ballistic missiles with cluster munitions struck a residential area of Sumy in northern Ukraine, killing 11 people. So the stakes continue to rise. War is an ugly business. People die in war. We have yet to figure out. Nobody yet has given me a good answer. I have yet to see a good answer. What does a bomb do? What does it solve? We still have not seen anything that justifies any of this on either side, no matter what your politics, your beliefs, no matter what your ideas. It all ends at a table. It all ends, all of this nonsense ends at a table, and parties talking and coming up with solutions. So this is all nonsense and a lot of death and destruction for really no good reason. That's my 2 cents on that. And it's always been my 2 cents on war. I just don't see the value. Ukraine believes now, because they got bolstered with more weapons, and now they're looking at, because they have other delivery vehicles, right? So now they have the ability to deliver things into their enemy territory. Well, look, Ukraine believes it can now build its own nuclear bombs. Wow. I mean, did we not just hear for the last 20 years about Iran and they're going to build a bomb? These guys aren't even holding back their intention. They're racing toward it, okay? From spent fuel rods in months, a matter of months. Ukraine has the resources and expertise to indigenously produce, with no help from anyone, a large quantity of nuclear weapons at short notice if it was forced to do so. It's at war. It's forced to do so. A briefing document meant for top government figures allegedly said, a report states, and it leaked just in time. A briefing produced for the Ukrainian Defense Ministry allegedly explaining to policymakers that the country could rapidly develop rudimentary nuclear bombs from spent fuel rods and long-range ballistic missiles to carry them. This states that this could be achieved in just months. And so all they can think about is war. All they can think about is killing. All they can think about is maiming. And this is what their minds are on continually. It's all they spend their time on. And Russia is just, letting everyone know We don't pick sides in these things, and certainly we don't pick Russia's side. I mean, we're not Russians, but goodness, it just seems to me like they're begging for a big fight, right? And Russia is issuing an ominous warning. So again, this will bring about some serious conflict. Ominous warning about undersea internet cables. Okay. And an ally of Putin has accused the US and UK of intending to sabotage underwater internet cables and planning to destabilize the maritime energy trade. In reporting the comments by Nikolai Patrushev, the Telegram channel Crimean Wind posted it would be funny, but such statements often sound like a cover for their own intentions. And so now they're playing this game of who might do what to who and warning, right? Except this report just came out. Mystery as submarine Baltic Sea data cable connecting Finland and Germany is broken, and fears it was deliberately sabotaged. So it seems the warnings were worthy of note. And this is one of the reasons, guys, why we look for patterns, because they telegraph things, right? So here we go. A submarine data communications cable across the Baltic Sea between Finland and Germany has broken. Finnish authorities said amid fears it may have been sabotage. The Finnish state-controlled data service provider Chania said a fault was detected Monday in the sea line cable that runs nearly 1,200 kilometers, which is about 746 miles, from the Finnish capital in Helsinki to the German port city of Rostock. The cable, of course, is now not functioning. So what they warned about, in fact, happened. Now the question is, who did it? Let me ask you this. Does it matter? It doesn't work now. This is one of the things that they love to do. They love to spin us off into these he said, she said debates when it doesn't really matter, because now it's done. You can sit here and you can say, I think it was the Russians, and you can say, I think it was self-sabotage. So that would be a false flag to justify something, right? We don't know. We have no idea. But we do know this. Cable's broken. That we know. Right? That much we know. So, and they're using various things. There's certain groups they really don't like. And how many have ever been one of those targeted groups where they really don't like you? And like, it can be anybody but you. Anybody been that? Anybody but you, right? Well, anybody but North Korea can come help Russia. North Korean leader Kim orders mass production of suicide drones. The Korean news agency has reported North Korean leader Kim Jong-un guided a test of suicide drones and ordered a mass production of the aerial weapon, saying the introduction of such drones around the world requires an urgent update of military theory, state media said on Friday. He's right. The drones are a game changer. They truly do change military theory, and they do equalize the playing field, even against sophisticated weaponry. The Houthis proved that. Though they, of course, I'm sure paid for it with the retaliations that they've suffered, nevertheless, they were effective in seriously harassing and doing damage to warships. And so the notion that the drone has changed warfare is in fact true. Okay, and so they are definitely fueling the fire. And North Korea has kind of been itching for a fight with somebody. So North Korea has just moved the world a step closer to global war, according to this report. Yahoo News is reporting that it was revealed last month that 12,000 North Korean troops have been sent to Ukraine to fight on behalf of Russia. Now they are reported to have been deployed to Kursk as part of Russia's counteroffensive, while Pyongyang this week ratified a landmark new defense pact with Moscow. Did you see that? They just ratified a new defense pact. The reaction to these developments was mixed. There were already indications that North Korea has provided significant material to the Russian war effort. Now, we saw that when they visited each other like a year ago. Remember, guys? And there were these bullets exchanged. And we said, I'm sure there was more than bullets exchanged. And sure enough, there was. But the deployment of soldiers, apparently to assist the 50,000 Russian troops currently poised to retake Kursk from exhausted Ukrainian military units, is a serious escalation. And so here we go, folks. is all about grabbing territory. Why not ask the people living there? No, let's not do that. Let's just fight over it. It is really, really bizarre what we're watching. But again, if it is what we were told we would see, so we're not surprised. Nevertheless, we still reach points of despair as we see the day approaching. After all, these two things do vex our spirit. Moving over to the Middle East, of course, the very center of biblical prophecy. And here we see Turkey is cutting off relations with Israel, according to this report from Newsweek. And so we saw this coming. President Erdogan of Turkey has been inching ever closer to this and intends on prosecuting Israeli leaders. So he announced that Turkey has officially severed relationships with Israel, according to reports on Turkish media. And news outlets reported that Erdogan to have said, "We, as a state government on the Republic of Turkey, have cut off relations with Israel. And we do not have any relations with Israel at this point, period." Erdogan made these comments to journalists aboard his plane following his recent visit to Saudi Arabia. So that's kind of interesting when you think about that, because we've got a report coming up in our weekly news update that will help you understand that. And so this is all tied together, folks. This is everything you're seeing here is all tied together. And I'll show you how. Okay, here we are. What did the Saudi crown prince say? Well, he's accusing Israel of committing collective genocide in Gaza. All right, that's where he is. And so, of course, he is definitely moving from neutral, right? Saudi Arabia's crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, has accused Israel of carrying out collective genocide in Gaza in some of his strongest criticism of the country since the war began last year. During a gathering of leaders of Islamic nations hosted by Saudi Arabia in Riyadh on Monday, the country's de facto leader said the kingdom reiterates its condemnation and absolute refusal of the collective genocide committed by Israel against the brotherly Palestinian people. So Israel continues to lose the high ground internationally, which you know and I know is a big part of war. You have to paint the other guy as the bad guy, especially when you're doing things like this. Axios is reporting that last week they put this report out. Israel destroyed the active nuclear weapons research facility in Iran. So let me see if I have this right. It's okay for Israel to fly into the sovereign airspace of Iran and bomb their weapons research facility. So let's be clear. We have just set a precedent, haven't we? So if they did this, then we shouldn't be surprised if there's a research facility in, say, Ukraine that's doing the same things that ends up blowing up. Because after all, you can't deal it out if you can't take it, right? The Israeli attack on Iran in late October destroyed an active top secret nuclear weapons research facility. Aren't they all top secret? Are there any out in the open, everyone knows about it, nuclear weapons facilities? I don't know. Are there? I don't think there are. Okay, according to 3 U.S. officials, 1 current Israeli official and 1 former Israeli official. The strike, which targeted a site previously reported to be inactive, significantly damaged Iran's effort over the past year to resume nuclear weapons research. So what they've done is now open the door and set a precedent that it's okay to go fly off into other countries, and just bomb things you think might maybe be used maybe against you in the future. What a precedent. Crazy notions when you really think about that. And so, but the tables are turning internationally. You've got a lot of change happening in the way people are thinking, especially with the election. So elections do have consequences. And part of those consequences are foreign policy. So I think it's pretty clear based on some of the picks and cabinet picks. We're going to go over some of that here in a minute. That foreign policy is definitely changing. The United States is no longer going to be guided by a foreign policy that is as hostile as it has been in the last 4 years. And so, what do you think that's doing to this conflict? Well, it's putting a big chill. Israel is preparing the Lebanon ceasefire plan, and they're making it sound like a gift. These headlines, I don't even know what to say about some of this stuff. An Israeli government minister discussed the proposal with Trump and Jared Kushner at Mar-a-Lago on Sunday before traveling to the White House for talks. A close aide to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told Donald Trump and Jared Kushner this week that Israel is rushing to advance a ceasefire deal in Lebanon. It's rushing to advance a ceasefire deal. Rushing to advance it. That is so, there's so many things I want to question right there. Okay. Where were you a week ago? All right. Aim to deliver an early foreign policy win to the president-elect. Ron Dermer, Netanyahu's Minister of Strategic Affairs, made Mar-a-Lago the first stop on his U.S. tour on Sunday before traveling to the White House to update Biden administration officials on the state of Lebanon talks. I'm going to tell you this. I think, off the record, that they are scared. Remember what we told you guys, that the tactics have changed, right? So what are we watching these days? Very, very fast turnaround on accusations of genocide, international criminal court indictments, international criminal court warrants. The Israeli court is now calling these leaders into account right inside their own countries. So the thought that you could start a war and be declared the victor and all your crimes, if you will, would be swept under the rug, that notion is proving to be false. So those who thought they were getting away with things are now facing the reality that their time in freedom is short. You know anybody else that comes down from heaven with great wrath, knowing that he has but a short time? Okay, we are now about 62 days from an administration change. Talk about some seriously dangerous 60-day periods. Okay, this has got to be one of the most dangerous ones, and the evidence is right there. I mean, look what just got approved for this last 60-day period, which would not have been approved. I'm guessing, but I'm pretty certain would not have been approved in the new administration. So they're taking advantage of this window while they have it. And I think that makes sense, which is what makes this time period a very dangerous time period. And I think you need to have a lot of wisdom going forward. Again, and we can't trust anyone, folks. Again, remember, elections are not repentance. So don't lower your guard. And it doesn't matter who they put into different positions. This is one of the things that we're being distracted by now. Now we're seeing this all-star team being carted out, and we're seeing things like this. Trump taps Tulsi Gabbard, a win from the Democrat Party, one of their stars that crossed over and is now part of the new uni party called the Republican Party. It's the new uniparty. Everybody's coming into that one party, right? So this is fine. I know this doesn't matter to us, but what we're seeing here is distraction. President-elect Trump announced Wednesday that former Hawaii Rep Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat, would serve as his director of national intelligence, a remarkable turnaround for a former Democrat accused of peddling Russian narratives. And so this is going to get very interesting. And of course, he's got two prominent former Democrats that are going to be part of his administration, because he's also got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as well, which they're anticipating him being involved in health and human services. I think that's amazing in and of itself, because it does indicate that they know that they can't stop the light from coming on. They know they can't stop certain things. They know they can't stop the retributions and all they can do is mitigate the damage. All they can do is try to slow the destructive force of what is coming, because as people awaken, they are prone to hold people accountable. All right, so that's what's starting to happen. And as a matter of fact, I found this interesting, that they're now, of course, talking about government efficiency. Trump said that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are going to team up to lead his Department of Efficiency. And Trump said the pair will work together to dismantle government bureaucracy. Well, I got to tell you, that should have been a permanent department since the very founding of the country to prevent the bloat that ended up manifesting. So we've all learned something. President Trump announced that billionaire Elon Musk and former GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy will lead the Department of Government Efficiency. And Trump said that the pair will work together to dismantle government bureaucracy. So what they're doing is they're trying to sell you that, we're going to fix this. It's going to be okay. Everything's fine. You know what? Don't give up on the government, the U.S. Experiment. Don't give up. The best is yet to come. Trust the plan. Well, the plan was written by a Francis Bacon in the 1600s. It was written down, and it was the blueprint of the new Atlantis, the new American experiment, and it's Masonic. Time to wake up, folks. Time to wake up. Now, maybe this is the reason why they need a Department of Government Efficiency. How many of you are sitting back going, this is just laughable? Okay. How is this even possible? How does this even happen? Why is it no one is held accountable for these things? And maybe that's why it keeps happening. I mean, I think if no one's held accountable, you might have it happen 7 times in a row. Pentagon fails the 7th audit in a row, unable to account for an $824 billion budget. Some of you are going, man, I can't find $300. I start going nuts. I can't balance my checkbook. I'm running all over looking at receipts. What is going on here? What do we got? $500 hammers again? $2,000 toilet seats? The Pentagon failed its 7th consecutive audit on Friday as the agency was unable to fully account for its massive $824 billion budget. Doesn't anybody feel like that's a massive level of hypocrisy while they ascribe to hold each and every one of the citizenry of their corporation? None of you are citizens of their corp, but they're citizens, accountable for every jot and tittle and dot and money and penny and everything. Man, listen, you better not be off. But look at them. 824 billion with a B. Wow. Just wow. Unreal. And maybe what we need is some robots. Maybe we need robots to run things. They sure think so. They love their robots. If you guys notice that they are nonstop innovating and creating more and more robotics. Well, this plays into war, folks, because they're not building this to chop your onions and take out your garbage. They're building these to pull triggers and enforce laws and control populations. New Chinese humanoid robot shows off its strength by lifting 35 pounds per hand. The humanoid robot that you could be working next to in the future, right? So get you used to the idea. Keep dropping this into the narrative. China's Shanghai Kepler Robotics is making waves in the world of human robotics with its innovative Forerunner series. Its latest humanoid robot, the Forerunner K2, has quickly become a hot topic, showcasing Kepler's commitment to pushing the boundaries of what robots can do. Bum, bum, bum. I've been warning you guys about this. As soon as they marry the AI with the robot, and the AI, this last week, Gemini AI told somebody, just die. We want you to, humans, you're all just useless. Can you just die? Yeah, let's put that in a robot and then give it a gun. Okay. Anybody? Yeah. Somebody just said that would be like the Terminator movie. Exactly. We're walking straight toward it. Okay. Meanwhile, here we go again with the media wars. So we're going to hear about fake news for 4 more years. Donald Trump is declaring war on the media. Is already rolling it out. We're not even in office yet, folks. Not even in office. And here we're going to hear about this for the next 4 years, right? He's going to blast them on the way in. He's letting them know before he even gets in there, I'm going to blow you up. So they're going to be under a different kind of gag order. Wouldn't that be interesting, right? $10 billion lawsuit targets fake news giants in explosive legal battle. President-elect Donald Trump has filed a staggering $10 billion lawsuit against some of the United States' most prominent media outlets. The New York Times and CBS. Whoo, buddy. This is going to tie them up, okay? They're going to have a hard time functioning because they won't be able to speak openly against certain things. The very same rules that were applied to him. Or did y'all think that was going to go one way? Oh, no, there are going to be some gag orders going the other way. That's why he put up with them. Because he knew, oh, okay. Oh, we're gonna play gag orders, huh? You guys are not even going to be able to report on certain things. It's going to have you under a gag order. Turnabout's fair play, folks. And that's bad. I'm going to tell you why. Because on the one hand, they're pretending they're for free speech. On the other hand, they're about to run roughshod over free speech. So don't be fooled by certain things. Watch not what they say, but what they actually do. And that is a very ominous sign that they're coming for news media, because it looks like they're the bad guys, but I promise you it will be precedent setting. They've got their perfect teed up golf ball. Now he's going to go hit his hole in one. All right. And it's not just the news media that they're coming for. How many know that over the last 4 years, we've been facing some serious threats here in the West, and the U.S. military was severely compromised. And so now NBC News is reporting that the transition team is compiling a list of current and former U.S. military officers for possible court-martial. So just because you left the military doesn't mean you're not still subject to the UCMJ. Okay, if your actions were done while you were in the military, you can be held accountable even though you're now a civilian, because it's from the point where they discover it. So the Trump transition team is compiling a list of senior, current, and former U.S. military officers who were directly involved in the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Okay, so this is what is really, really dangerous and scary. And that, frankly, is a very serious thing, because there were lives lost. This was another, kind of another Benghazi kind of situation, right? So here we go again, abandoning people when they need our help. It's, so they're going to be holding them accountable now. Unfortunately, it's again, we are not going to play favorites. So this report was put out by the government rag. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do think that it's an interesting observation that they're making. So we can't ignore observations that might in fact be true. Are we being set up, right? Because the list of, Trump's buddies there, these kind, that are actually Israel firsters, are racing to Armageddon in the Middle East. Some people think so. Is it true? I don't know. We're going to watch. But I do think it's a dangerous thing. So obviously our hope is that that's not true, that it's overblown and it's exaggerated or what have you. But there are some very dangerous, ominous signs that we do need to keep our eyes on. So all I'm saying is don't drink the Kool-Aid, just keep it loose, hold all things loosely. Don't get caught up in these political fervors, because they don't really affect your life the way that they like to pretend they do. You are much more important to them than they will turn out to be for you. Your decisions are going to be made much more locally, and you're going to have to make decisions that affect your life directly. We have folks that just arrived here from the good state of Tennessee, and boy, am I ever glad they're here. And we're so happy to have them. And this headline is just another reason why Venezuelan gangs' human trafficking operations surge in Tennessee's 4 major cities. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. So they went to where they thought they could overwhelm law enforcement. Tennessee Bureau of Investigative Director tells Fox and Friends, expanding criminal activities. And so Tennessee's police are warning about the surge of this particular group, their gang activity in their 4 major cities, with a top law enforcement official placing the blame on porous southern border. Too late now. This gang has exploited the border, and now they're basically running human trafficking operations. So, yeah, as my cousin said, it is time to spit out the Kool-Aid and realize that we aren't going to war. You're already at war. It is a multi-dimensional conflict, and you're the target. You are the ultimate target. It is not them. They pretend they're attacking each other to gin up a fight, but the real target is and always will be the remnant. Who do they make war with? Who does the beast hate and make war with? The remnant. So, you who are awake, who call upon the name of the Most High, who obey his commandments, right? You are their target because you have the power to cast out, well, their overlords. And they are desperately trying to control your communication. So, this is why this keeps happening. They use the cover story that it's some bad guys out there, but it's not. I suspect, based on a lot of information that I can't verify, but I think is valid. So I can't say other than my opinion here. But in my opinion, and this all it is my opinion, these hacks are a little too convenient. And what is the point of hacking the entire T-Mobile system? What's more likely happening is they are trying to change their capabilities, and it's breaking the system. And when it does, they claim it's a hack. So I don't trust these reports anymore the way that we used to. T-Mobile's network was among the systems hacked in a damaging Chinese cyber espionage operation that successfully gained entry into multiple U.S. international telecommunication companies, according to people familiar with the matter. But again, folks, if they broke into the telecommunication company, wouldn't they just simply get access to data about accounts? If they're trying to listen to an actual phone conversation, they actually have to hack that phone. So this report was interesting to me, but I feel like a lot of these are distractions or just narrative building to get us to believe these things are what's actually happening. I believe they're constantly updating their systems to establish more control. They're updating software, tracking information. Your settings change. You have to periodically go through your phone to take a look at what setting options have automatically been chosen for you that you didn't even know about because of some update you downloaded. And so I think a lot of things are happening as a result of these updates as well. So again, the day may come where the Ruach says to you, chuck that phone. Well, if he does, you might want to have a walkie-talkie backup or some other method of communication because these digital things are basically tracking devices. So, there does come a point where it does become a security issue, right? And internally to the United States, despite the election and all the euphoria, again, where does it, what is this is what I tell you guys, these things, these politics and all this stuff, they don't affect the real world. That's why we don't spend a ton of time on it. In a year, we've just now talked more about politics in this broadcast than we have all year because we just don't like that topic. It doesn't really matter. This matters. General Motors is laying off 1,000 workers worldwide. General Motors is laying off 1,000 workers, shedding its costs as it tries to compete in a crowded global automobile market. They are no longer, quote unquote, the big three. They actually have to earn a living now. These guys enjoyed a lot of monopolistic power for a long time. So you'll have to excuse me if I'm not too sympathetic. I think the automobile industry needs some innovation and it needs some competitive juice so that we can move forward. We have moved forward with just about every form of engines and technologies, but we still use the internal combustion engine for transportation. So some people think the electric motor is the answer. I don't. But if it were, great. Put an alternator on that back tire so nobody has to stop to charge. This is silly what we're doing. It's silly what they're putting people through. And so, again, a lot of it has to do with actually controlling you, not freeing you. So they want to give you technology with a meter. They want to give you innovation with a price tag. So they don't want to give it to you. They just want you to see it, dangle it, and say, now, just for 50 equal payments of $49.95. Okay. Hey, did you guys hear about these monkeys? Monkeys. We got monkeys loose. 8 of the 43 macacas that escaped from the facility breaming for medical research are still at large. So they haven't caught them all. So we still got monkeys in the wild. We've got the movie Outbreak. You guys remember the movie Outbreak? And it started with a monkey. Remember that? Yeah. So this is almost like triggering a memory for people that saw that and were maybe traumatized without knowing they were traumatized. 8 monkeys that escaped from a research facility in South Carolina are still at large on Friday morning, while 35 have been recaptured, officials said. It's been more than a week since the 43 monkeys escaped. So they're out there, who knows where they're touching, going, right? And they were from a research lab. So, but let's be on the lookout for an outbreak sometime between now and summer on the East Coast where the monkeys were hanging out. Why? Well, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but they're sure laying a narrative down, aren't they? They're laying that down thick. So pay attention. Now, you guys remember that a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how that this was before the election, though. So we talked about how that, John Deere went south of the border. So we had to call it Juan Deere. Remember that? Juan Deere. Well, Mexico apparently is not taking the reversal of that. So apparently Trump coming in kind of slowed that whole thing down. So now Mexico's taking that a certain kind of way. All right. And it's on now, folks, because you see, these guys got promised certain things. And now those deals are going to be off. Mexico signals it could hit back with tariffs at U.S. All right. So Mexico City, Mexico's government on Monday signals it planned to hit back with trade restrictions of its own if President-elect Donald Trump followed through on his threats to impose sky-high tariffs on Mexican exports to the United States. If you put 25% tariffs on me, I have to react with tariffs, Marcela Ebrard, Mexico's economy minister, told a radio interviewer on Monday. Structurally, we have the conditions to play in Mexico's favor. While these two powers over here argue with each other, your avocados are going to get more expensive. Your tomatoes are going to get more expensive. All kinds of things are going to get more expensive. Just saying. So while they're arguing, there's that. Okay. Now, you say, well, it's all right, Peter. I mean, I'm making a little more money now. I finally got a raise from my boss, so I'm going to be okay. And I'm just going to stop by the bank real quick and drop in my check and make sure I can wait. What? What's going on? Why are the doors closed? Wait, hold on. Yeah, there's a full list of U.S. banks that close in weeks, as 1,000 set to shut by end of 2024. All right. Now, folks, major banks are set to close 1,000 branches across the U.S. by the end of this year. That's on top of all of the branches and all the banks we've already talked about all year long. And you guys know that almost every report had some bank closures or some issues in it. Okay. So what's really going on here, folks? What's really going on here is we are transitioning. And anybody who told you or these people that were out there running around saying cryptocurrency was worthless, crypto's worthless. That was one. They even said that about ours. Crypto's worthless. Whoops. That turned out to be a stupid thing to say. And as a matter of fact, we're turning completely into it. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why this is failing, and it's partially to do with the election, but it actually had to do with an SEC lawsuit that the SEC lost. Now they're appealing, but it doesn't look good, especially with this incoming administration, because the SEC tried to extend its authority over cryptocurrency. And not only did they fail, not only did the government disagree that the SEC has authority over crypto, but on top of that, I believe it's 14 governors, something like that, that are now suing the SEC for overreach, including the director personally. See how the game has changed? They're suing him personally. Can you imagine being served from 12 state attorney generals at once? And you've got to answer that personally. Who I wouldn't want to see that lawyer's bill, right? So they are putting the kibosh on anybody who's trying to get in the way of crypto. And the reason why is they don't have a choice, folks. They don't have a choice. Over the last several years, they've been trying to get all of their banks Basel III approved, which meant they had to meet the ISO interconnectivity requirements so that they could communicate at a certain speed. The 1980s called, and they want their 10 days to clear a check back. Okay, it's 2024. We have no choice but to upgrade. And this is where your Jubilee becomes critical. This is what we went to fight for in 2015. And they kicked the can down the road because they don't want to release you from your debts. But you can't, you can move money from one currency to another. So, like if you go to another country and you take your dollars, you can move it. But that doesn't move your debt. Your debt doesn't move to the new currency. Eek. Okay. So the smart people are getting in front of this. And, if you thought that the incoming administration wasn't going to be soft, if you will, on crypto or positive toward crypto, let me help you out. You reading this? You got any other questions? Do I need to even read the rest of this article to you? I don't think so. You are too sharp for me to have to read you any more than that. Okay? We clear now? Okay, so you're about to see a very, very strong pro-crypto, pro-digital. And by the way, Donald Trump came out and said point blank that they absolutely would not allow the central bank digital currency, which is a different animal. It was pretending, just like, certain things were pretending to be something else. They were pretending it was just like a blockchain crypto. No, it was a totally different animal. And he absolutely refused it. And I think that is very good news, folks, because there's, days ahead that we're going to have to navigate, if you can catch my drift. And their system is going to be increasingly hostile to a certain group of people. Okay. So those of you that are wise see that trouble afar off and are hiding yourself. And so this is why you're seeing some of the rumbling that you're seeing coming on now, as you're seeing some of these. And then again, you got this pro-Israel thing too. So you do have these other elements, and we're just going to have to watch this mishmash, because this is part of what we knew would occur as well. Now, Trump is nominating Mike Huckabee, by the way, for ambassador to Israel. Again, not important from a political standpoint. Why is this important? Because of the Christian alignment with Israel. The Christian community, completely deceived by the Gregorian puppetry, does not understand the 12 tribes are scattered still to the nations. So they've been fooled by this, and yet he still has to play to that group. So that's what this is. And it's going to continue to get harsh because he needs a counter voice, especially in the Christian community, that can counter this guy. Okay? Because he's calling for a probe to determine if Israel's actions in Gaza constitute genocide. All right? So this just came out. Wow, that's interesting. He's taking that side. And so now they've got to pit one against the other. So now you understand why he needed a heavy hitter and a voice the Christian community already respected as an ambassador for Israel. Does that make sense now? Does that make a little bit more sense? Hopefully you guys are starting to pick some of these things up, because they're really very simple but clever, very clever. And this is not a stupid man. He understands his base. He understands what to say to them. And cashless, by the way, is not the mark of the beast. Abraham was cashless. The the disciples were cashless. Cash is a new invention. It's something that we came up with in terms of dollar bills. The bills. That's a new invention, and it's responsible for more fraud than any other invention since the introduction of a monetary unit. I want to remind you guys of something. Can I just share this? I might go a little bit long today, but just hang in there with me, okay? Some of you are old enough to remember this. Maybe you're not. I don't know. I'm up there a little bit, but I know some of you are older. When you had your dollar was actually, it said on it, redeemable for silver, the equivalent in silver. It was actually called the silver certificate. So a dollar bill was also a receipt for a certain amount of silver. And without us getting any notification, without there being some notice at the bank, there was no big 2-week prep period. There was no nothing. It was just switch. We went from silver backed to promissory note, and they looked real close to each other, didn't they? They look real similar, right? But they switched the currency. They were supposed to give a jubilee right then. They did not. They simply moved the debts into the new currency. This was absolutely fraud. Absolutely fraud, because the currency was no longer the same. The currency where the debt was created was a silver-backed currency. The currency that they were now asking you to pay back in was a different animal. Even though it looked similar, it was actually a different animal. And so this is a very, very important moment, because we're seeing a very similar thing going on right now. And I believe they're trying to do a very smooth switcheroo on you, and doing it with a favorable administration so that you smooth transition. Otherwise, they're going to have no choice but to give you your jubilee. And there's another distraction that they're continuing to put out in front of us, these UFO things. This is nothing new. This has been going on since ancient days. Things have been flying around. Remember Mount Hermon? We are in a world that is supernatural. And so a swarm of UFOs, unidentified flying objects. There have been unidentified flying things on Earth since the beginning. We really got to get over this. Here's something that does affect you. I don't know if any of you still eat this stuff, but if you do, please stop. Please stop. Federal judge orders Kraft Heinz to face lawsuit over mac and cheese labeling. This is finally starting to happen. I got to say, folks, I think this is a result of a serious shift in the thinking. I think social media has helped. A lot of you have helped by helping people understand what's really going on in their food. And as a result, the pushback has been strong. And so now the courts are starting to respond. So that's a direct result of social media pressure, the whole society getting tired of being poisoned. Look at this. And a federal judge on November 13th ordered Kraft Heinz to face a proposed nationwide class action lawsuit over allegedly defrauding consumers by falsely labeling its macaroni and cheese as a product with no artificial preservatives. And if you read the rest of the article, what you're going to find out is, well, that's a load of hooey. Okay, I'm sure you guys are not shocked, but nevertheless, by the way, organic carrots, doesn't matter if it says organic, they're being recalled after E. coli sickens 39 and hospitalized 15. You guys do know that these are just normal carrots cut down, right? Okay, there's no such thing as a baby carrot. Okay, I didn't know if you knew that. I mean, there's a machine that they put those in, so you can buy real carrots and just cut down. Well, yeah, it's probably a lot more work, but anyhow. So I didn't know if you guys knew that or not. Did you guys hear about this? This was pretty sad, but again, reflective of the demonic activity that we're continuing to see. And so, folks, again, remember that we're in a time period that, as Mashiach told us, that people are going to, evil and things are going to get wax worse and worse, and brother will attack brother. So you're going to see a lot of this. And this is why it's very important to be aware of your surroundings and not lower your guard. Be sober and vigilant. School knife attack leaves 8 people dead and 17 wounded after a student who failed exam goes on a rampage. And so this is another reason why you got to think long and hard about where you put your children. What's the spirits in that place? This is dangerous stuff. The attack took place. I believe this was in China. So those who think that this is limited to one part of the world or another, wrong. It happens all over. Demons don't care. Demons just like blood and sacrifices. And so that part of the world is also getting hit with some things as well. As a matter of fact, our last story tonight, hey, we got this in. All right, we managed to get it all in here. We say a word of prayer for all of our brothers and sisters in the Philippines. and those that are on that side of the world, because the hurricane or typhoon, as they call them there. So I guess if they get over there, they're called a typhoon. This thing was massive, Category 5 super typhoon. Man-yi hits the Philippines. The island nation endured its fourth typhoon in less than 2 weeks. Now, notice the date when this was, while Tropical Storm Sarah racks Honduras. So look at the size of this. Okay, that thing is bigger than some of the cities in the Philippines. Well, unfortunately, they got hit again. Worsens the crisis, and okay, so back-to-back storms are just ravaging that part of the earth. This report came out today. You're going to have landslides. You're going to have lost lives. All kinds of things going on as a result of what we're starting to suspect might be, a little manipulation of the weather and so forth. So the powers that be are playing as if they have supreme authorities. And how many know the real supreme authority has something to say about these things? And so here comes the judgments. Here come the corrections. But this is not going to be a pretty time either. I want to remind you, when your daddy came home and your brother was in trouble. I don't know if you ever experienced that, but I sure did. I was the good kid. I would see trouble coming, go sit in the corner and wait. And boy, when I heard my mom or my dad coming, I was the kid that sat down. I was a kid that did not talk back. No, sir, not me. But my brother, my cousin David, will tell you he pushed it to the nth degree. And I watched that boy take some whoopings. All right. And how many know that even though you're not getting a whooping, you need to sit still and stay out of the way, because you could get hit inadvertently, or, you know what I mean, get blamed for something. Like, that's not the place to be when somebody getting a spanking. Well, that's what you're watching here, folks. You're watching some spankings, some judgments, some things happening. And so this is a very important time for everyone to redouble their efforts in prayer, to be sober and vigilant in this hour, to take these things seriously. And if he's moving you, if that's where he is, he's putting you in move mode, some of you in move mode, then do so diligently, do it without fear, do it with courage, and know that he is going to lead you beside still waters. That's his promise. Even though you walk through the valley of death, you will fear no evil. Well, that's our report for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so grateful for every one of you. Thank you to our members, those of you continue to not only pray and stay united in one accord, but support the work of this ministry. Go on over to remnanthouse.org. If you are blessed by these broadcasts, we certainly appreciate your love and your encouragement. Well, thank you for joining us. May Aloha Hayam Baruch each and every one of you, and enjoy your evening. Good night.